Hey, good day everyone. I am Hannah Zafra. First of all, I would like to congratulate the group for a job well done. And now this will be my evaluation for the program #Vote Wisely. Piliin ang tama, kinabukasan natin itaga. So I will be using the evaluation framework that I have developed. The first component for it is strategic planning and program design with the criteria, clarity of behavioral objectives, audience segmentation, and use of formative research. The first criteria is the clarity of behavioral objectives. I gave it a score of 3 because the campaign's specific objectives lack measurable and behavioral indicators. For example, the specific goal, which is mobilize the youth, is for me it is too broad. It really asks the question, how do we mobilize the youth? Do we encourage them to vote, to campaign, or to attend events? So there is no baseline or target metric for it. And if we base it on the SMART framework, the campaign's goals are relevant and time-bound, but they fall short in specificity and measurability. So behavior change goals in social marketing programs should be clear about what people are expected to do differently and how the program will track that change. Next criteria is the audience segmentation. I gave it a score of 4 out of 4 because the campaign has a clear and well-researched understanding of its target audience and stakeholders, which is the Filipino youth, is an appropriate and strategic focus. This group not only represents a significant portion of the voting population but is also highly active on social media, where most of the campaign's digital activism is likely to take place. And the secondary audiences, which are the educators, the parents, the influencers, are also well chosen as they can reinforce the message through formal education, household influence, or online influence, respectively. The next criteria is the use of formative research. Well, I gave it a score of 4 because the program is well researched, judging from the data they presented on the common issues in the way several Filipinos approach voting. So it is grounded on facts as well as it is a timely movement. Next component is the message development and dissemination. The first criteria is the message relevance and clarity. I gave it a score of 4 because the campaign shows a strong and relevant intent through its key messages, and the campaign's central claim that one vote can lead the change is symbolically accurate in democratic practice, which is what we are used to here in the Philippines. The messages are also short, simple, and emotionally appealing, which makes them accessible across different education levels. Next criteria is the channel diversity. I gave it a score of 4 because the campaign clearly demonstrates a well-rounded communication strategy by using multiple platforms to distribute its message. So based on the outlined communication channels, the campaign effectively integrates digital, traditional, and interpersonal methods, which is a strong indicator of a strategic planning and inclusive outreach. Next criteria is the material accessibility. I gave it a score of 2 because while the message is in the Filipino language and it is easy to understand, it would be better for me and widely accessible if it was translated into different dialects so that people all over the country can also actively participate in the campaign. Next component is the community engagement and participation. First criteria is stakeholder involvement. Score is 4 out of 4. The campaign identifies a wide array of key stakeholders, including government bodies and private sector and other groups. So this is a major strength as it shows a comprehensive and multi-sectoral approach. Next criteria is feedback mechanism. Score is 4 out of 4. It was established in their plan that participant input can be regularly gathered using academic assessment tools like surveys and feedback forms after webinars and workshops. Next criteria is a volunteer and local mobilization. Score is 4 out of 4 because the program has this step wherein they would conduct specific training for willing students or youth volunteers to take up the role of campaign ambassadors in their institutions and communities. Next component is the reach, exposure, and coverage. First criteria is the target audience reach. So since this is a campaign plan, we can only assume the reach of the campaign if it is implemented through the efforts and strategies inculcated in its mobilization plan. Since it aims to achieve at least 100,000 reach through digital activism with the use of a mix of digital, traditional, and interpersonal communication platforms, I think their objective will be viable as long as it is sustained. So the score for that would be 3 out of 4. Next criteria is frequency of exposure. Score is 3. The campaign will have a 12-month run, including the analysis and impact evaluation, as well as its digital continuity. So many people will still be exposed with the campaign, especially with its strategies on multiple platforms. Next is the visibility of campaign. I gave it a score of 4 because the campaign prioritizes major social media platforms such as Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok, and this is a smart move for me because especially given the youth demographic it aims to reach. Next component is the behavioral outcomes and impact. First criteria is awareness increase. So I gave it a score of 4 because the strategies are favorably placed to increase the awareness of the Filipino youth, such as utilizing hashtags, digital advertising and promotion, and other strategies. Next criteria is knowledge, attitude, and change. I gave it a score of 4 because surveys are placed to gauge changes in voter knowledge and sentiment, and there are partnerships with other organizations to help in knowledge building. Next criteria is observable behavior change. Score is 4 because tactics are placed and will be adjusted based on evaluation insights and emerging trends in social media and voting behavior. Next component is barriers and responsiveness with the criteria barrier identification. So for this criteria, I gave it a score of 4 because the program has identified the possible risks such as low online participation or response bias in their implementation plan as well as the corresponding mitigating efforts for that. For the adaptation mechanisms, the score is 3 because while it has presented the risks and mitigation strategies, the time frame for their mitigation efforts or adaptation mechanisms is not that clear. So there will be questions as to the swiftness or timeliness of the response in case of emerging challenges. Next component is the sustainability and institutionalization. First criteria is the institutional support. Score is 4 out of 4 because government agencies were identified to assist the campaign, which makes the campaign comprehensive in its approach. Next criteria is capacity building. I gave it a score of 4 because capacity building initiatives and online training sessions for stakeholders and youth organizations are inculcated in the strategy to empower the campaign. So workshops and webinars are also there to help people spot false and malicious information. Lastly, we have the integration into routine programs. The score for that is 4 because tactics are planned to solidify new practices across digital platforms. So sustainability maps are also planned, which outlines long-term strategies for voter education. So the overall score for the campaign is 74, which is equals to excellent, which means that the campaign is well executed, sustainable, and highly effective. So that is it for my evaluation for the program Vote #Vote Wisely, Piliin ang Tama, Kinabukasan Natin, Itaga.